Welcome to OLC 40, Term 1A, Class 13, and we are beginning work on Unit 2, Lesson 6, Key Question 6. This is Jillian Percy. We are on Week 4, and it is September 23rd, 2025. Here are all the ways to contact us if you want to. The studio number is 1-800-465-7144. Keep in mind that if you call the studio, you will also be on air just like I am, okay? The office number is 1-800-667-3703, extension 2211. My email is jillian.percy@nnec.on.ca. Facebook, capital G, capital P, ERCY, space, capital W, AHSA. That is where you can reach out to me if you're not fond of email is fine too. But when you do that, don't just hit friend request. Please let me know what course you're in and what your proper student name is, right? A lot of times people have kind of funky names for Facebook, and then I'm trying to figure out what that matches up to in the database. So if you tell me your full name and your course number, then I know what we're looking at, okay? Because I teach several courses, not just this one. The classes are all recorded and put on YouTube. There are two different YouTube channels. There's my teacher channel, which is also G Percy Wasa, and there's a playlist called 2526 OLC 40 Term 1A, and that is this course. And then there is Wasa Distance Education YouTube channel. That's the school channel, and it has all the different stuff from last year and this year. As the course is going along, we are making some changes. So if the version of the course that you have doesn't match up with what I'm teaching, just go back to last year's playlist, the one in OLC 40 Term 2B, and it will have the previous stuff. I just had to make some changes due to the inspector coming and saying, hey, we want this change and that change. So some things are a little bit different. Okay, whenever you hand in work, please send it to studentwork@nnec.on.ca. You can CC me in the email so I see it as well. When you do that, the secretary can log that you submitted the work. Other people have access to it if they need it in case I got sick or had to step down. Please make sure that on the page of your work, you have your full name, your course name, the assignment name and number. And if an assignment asks for a rough and a good draft, please label it right at the top so I know which one I'm marking. There are all sorts of different ways to hand in assignments. You can give it to the DEC at the Learning Center and ask them to scan it and email it to me. You can fax it. If you do that, let me know so I can turn the fax machine on. It's kind of in sleep mode a lot of the time. 1-800-463-7852. You can use a scanner app on your phone and scan it and email it to me. Now, you can mail it to me, but there's always things with postal strikes and stuff, so I'm not recommending that, and things do get lost. If you do have to do that, then please make sure to hang on to the originals and only send me your photocopies. You can share documents with me through Google Docs. If you do your work on like Microsoft Word or on a Mac, just save it as a document and email it to me, that's fine. And then some people take photographs of their assignments and send it to me either in Facebook or in email. Commonly, that's when people are doing the work handwritten, and so it's not already on the computer. When you do that, please make sure the photograph is nice and clear, not blurry, so I can read it. It's best if you do your assignments in pen if you know you're going to be taking photographs of them. The pencil doesn't show up very well. And when you do that, don't just click the share button. When you do that, it comes up as a very odd size on the computer, and I find the quality isn't very good. I don't know why particularly, but it isn't. So usually you'll have the choice of email or email as an attachment. Always pick email as an attachment. Okay, I'm gonna just kind of circle that one right now. Let me do that. Oh, it won't let me do it. Yeah, I can do it in the, oh, here we go. We'll try that. There we go. Beautiful. Email as an attachment. And again, in the subject line, you still would tell me course number, assignment number, all that kind of stuff. I've got 4 different courses, so I don't always know. And some of the assignments are quite similar, like more than one course has a resume that needs to be handed in, for example. Okay, scanning app. This is the best way to do it if you think you're going to be taking a lot of photographs for the course. Downloading the scanner app is super easy. It's free. and it takes a much better quality picture, but it's not really any harder than taking a photograph. So you'd download it, open it up. You would line up the little dots in the corners of the page, or there's a little border you can line up as well. Snap the picture, do that for all the pages in the assignment, hit continue when you're done. Then it will let you preview it. You can put the pages in order, you can take another photograph if you need to, you can crop the pages, then hit save PDF, rename it. I usually name it the course and the assignment number, and then save it. Google Drive, Dropbox, OneDrive, wherever you save your stuff, and then send me an email with the assignment attached. Okay. I'm kind of started doing this because I just find it's easier to kind of keep track of what's going on each week. So for week 4, yesterday we worked on lesson 6. Today we should finish up with lesson 6. And then Wednesday and Thursday we should be doing lesson 7. It seems approximately to take about 2 days to go through a lesson right now. Okay. And so this lesson is all on informational texts. By the end of the lesson, you will have achieved lesson goals if you can explain the purpose and use of informational texts, identify and use nonfiction text features to help you understand a text, understand and identify different points of view in text, use a dictionary and a glossary in order to learn the meanings of new words, identify and write complex sentences correctly. Okay, so when we left off yesterday, we were right in the middle of going through the features that exist in nonfiction textbooks. And we're going over them because a lot of times people skip them. They just notice the words and they kind of skip over this part and they don't realize that it's kind of a way to organize the material and break them into smaller chunks and call your attention to certain things. So it's worthwhile paying attention to the nonfiction text features, okay? So number 5 is captions. Captions are a brief explanation or description that may appear over, under, or next to different graphics in the text. It could be a map, a graph, an illustration, or a photograph. Captions can be an important tool to help the reader understand the importance of a graphic and how it relates to the text. Sometimes it will say figure. So see here where it says fig, F-I-G, period 8. It means that this is the 8th figure. And they're saying the word figure because it could be a photograph, one other one could be a map, a different one could be a graph. Because sometimes in the text, it'll say, if you check out figure 8, you'll see a picture of this, or you'll see the map for that, or whatever it is, right? For this one, it says Democratic presidential nominee Bill Clinton waves from the podium before giving his acceptance speech at the Democratic National Convention at Madison Square Garden in New York City, July 16th, 1992. Okay, graphics. Graphics are often an important way to make large amounts of text more understandable and more interesting. Graphics can include photographs, drawings, labeled diagrams, maps, timelines, and infographics. They can help give the reader a clearer picture of unfamiliar people, places, or objects, or to help them understand a scientific process or a series of historical events. So over here's a label diagram of a microscope. If you had to explain that in words, it would be so tedious and it would be very hard to picture in your head. It'd be like, well, up top you'll see a long cylindrical object, and the very top of that, the glass part, is called the lens. And then underneath it, you'll see a body tube, which will connect. It would be so tedious. So a picture does 1,000 words. Now here we've got a social media infographic. I'm just kind of making it bigger so we can see it here. It's talking about how much money I think people spent on different types of social media. I'm sorry, it's a little bit hard for me to read. But anyways, it's the kind of thing where it's a little bit easier to understand rather than just a bunch of text. Okay, where are we at here? Okay, charts and graphs. Charts and graphs are a special type of graphic that are used to help organize and illustrate numerical data into a visual format that can help make comparing and understanding abstract numerical information much easier. Circle, bar, line, and stem and leaf graphs are some common types used. So here, it's talking about for some reason the title wasn't on this. It's looking like it's talking about um, popular like touristy type outings and who typically is going to them. So we've got in yellow, we've got new migrants born in other countries, non-English speaking, new migrants born in English speaking countries in the blue, and then born in Canada. And so you can see in the cinema, um, quite a lot of people, no matter what, go to the cinema. In the theater, the new migrants born in non-English speaking countries is much smaller. But then the library, they have the highest group. And then the zoo is kind of more similar. So anyways, that's just kind of a little graph that you can kind of get a quick look at and understand a little easier. Okay, text box and sidebars. Text boxes and sidebars usually contain extra information on the topic the main thing is, but it's usually something that's not necessarily necessary. It can interesting but not necessary to understand. So photographs, for example, quotes, web links, extra facts about a person or event. They're generally intended to make dry text a little more interesting. Some students find them distracting or confusing because they're not sure when to read them. So for example, if they're reading along, well, there's a picture there, there's a picture there, but they get to this, and suddenly their eyes jump and they're reading this, and it doesn't make sense in context. That doesn't happen to all students, but it does happen to some students. Okay, number 9. Typography, bold, italicized, underlined words. Typography is the style and the appearance of letters in print. Some examples are the different font styles, or changing a font to be bold, italicized, or underlined. Sometimes the reader will use special typography in order to draw attention to certain words. For example, headings or subheadings might be printed in bold or underlined to make them stand out. Other times, words might be printed in bold to indicate that there are a new and important concept that will be found in the glossary. That's very typical in science textbooks, for example. Sometimes words might be printed in italics, which is kind of a slanted print, to show you that it is a quotation from another source. Being aware of these conventions can help you when you're reading to know what the author is trying to convey. Paying attention to words that are printed within usual typography can help you understand important ideas and what the author considered important in the text. So just in case you didn't know what I was talking about. So different font styles or colors. So here we've got one font up top and a different font in the bottom, and they're different colors. So that draws your attention. Bold text is just darker. Italicized is slanted. So if I wanted to, I could unitalicize that and then it stands up. It's really common for them to use that for quotes. They don't have to by any means, but it's just kind of a way to make it clear that it's not the writer's own words. And then underlined text. Okay, number 10, lists, bullets, and numbering. Writers can use a variety of types of lists, including numbered lists, alphabetized lists, and bulleted lists, in order to organize or sequence information in an easy to understand format. This can be done to show the chronology of events or the steps in a process. Lists can also be used to present information alphabetically or by order of importance. Lists can help to make a series of steps or information more understandable than when written in sentence format. So here, for example, we've got how to make a peanut butter sandwich, and they've got a numbered list so you know to do it in this order. Number 1, get 2 slices of bread. Number 2, spread peanut butter on one piece. Number 3, spread jam on the other piece. Number 4, put the 2 sides together. Number 5, cut in half. Number 6, eat. Here, they've just bulleted because there's no order to it and there's no priorities. It says you can fill your craft box with so many things: construction paper, glue, glitter, cardboard scraps, stickers, stamps, tissue paper. Now, they could have easily written that as a sentence, but it is a little bit easier to read in the list format using a dictionary. So sometimes in order to understand new words that we read in an information article or textbook, we will need to look up a new word in the dictionary. There are both print and online versions of a dictionary, and they are each organized somewhat differently. A print dictionary will be organized alphabetically from A to Z. Some dictionaries may be targeted towards specific age groups, like children's dictionaries or college dictionaries, and some may be aimed for a certain type of word, like dictionaries of medical terms, Scrabble dictionaries, rhyming dictionaries. Dictionaries will normally have guide words at the top of the page that will show you the first and last word available on that page to help you narrow down your search for the word. Dictionaries will also show you a phonetic rendering of how to pronounce the word and how to split it into syllables. They will also generally list all the meanings of each word, along with what part of speech they correspond to. Some dictionaries will also give you sample sentences or synonyms to the words. Many dictionaries will also include the spelling of words that are related to the base word, such as adjective and adverb forms. So here is a sample. Oh, actually, I'm going to show you real quick. This is an example of the phonetic symbols. So when you see the P, it's saying P like pen, B, B like bad. Usually the consonants aren't a big deal. It's usually more the vowels. So if you see the I like that, it's talking about saying it like C. I would say it differently, but anyways. The I like this is happy. The I that looks like that is the I in sit. So you can see there's a lot of different kind of funky symbols they've got for the vowels. There are some in the consonants, like they use this funny symbol for the SH. Now, not all of them will do that. Usually somewhere either at the beginning or at the bottom of each page, it will show you what phonetic symbols they normally use, okay? Here we've got volcano and you've got vol, K, no. I'm just kind of showing you. Here's an example of a dictionary page. See these darker words up top? We've got together with and tomography. Those are the guide words. And then if you're looking here, look at together with first. Anytime it's in bold, that's the new entry. And prep stands for preposition. And the definition is in addition to, in association with. We were just looked at the phonetic thing. It'll give you like a little pronunciation guide. Sometimes it will include synonyms. Sometimes I've seen things like related words. Oh, see how we got here for tolerance. They've also included tolerant, adjective, tolerantly, adverb. So they're letting you know that that's how you would spell those and that they're what part of speech they are. Okay. Using an online dictionary is slightly easier. You can pull up any number of dictionaries. Try to use a name brand one. The first one that comes up is like dictionary.com. Don't use that one because you don't know how reliable it is, okay? Common dictionary publishers are Collins, Merriam-Webster, Cambridge, Oxford. They will usually all have the same parts, like all the same things we have in the the print version, but they may be formatted in a different order or structure. But most entries should still include a phonetic rendering, a syllables, parts of speech, list of meanings. Sometimes it will also include like a little thing you can click on so you can hear the word, which is kind of nice because sometimes you haven't heard the word before. And some dictionaries will include a sample sentence or synonyms, and again, often list related words or word variants on that base. So here's an example for the word simian. Now this isn't live, but if I clicked on that, it would tell me how to say it. And it says of relating to or resembling monkeys or apes. And it's a noun. And then you got a kind of a more slightly different definition. Any of a suborder, Anthropedia, of primates that include monkeys, apes, or humans. Then they've got a little funny, like, did you know kind of thing that tells you about stuff. And then you could click on this for an example of simian in a sentence. Here, they're giving you an example of it as an adjective. It goes on for quite a while. They don't all have it in this order, though. You have to kind of like play around a little bit and decide what kind you like. I usually go with Merriam-Webster because I just think they're really reliable, but you can use whichever one you prefer. Here's an example of the Cambridge Dictionary. Of or like a monkey. Now, related words or phrases, I'm not sure what they're going for there. And here they're using examples of the word simian in actual sentences. Okay. I find this one not as helpful for definitions, but probably a little bit more helpful for the sentences. And then the Collins Dictionary, this one I like how it's set up, this one actually. Adjective is someone has a simian face, they look rather like a monkey. But here, they're starting with the sentence examples, and then they give you the definition. I do think that's a little weird. I don't know why they don't do the definition first. And then for this particular word, they had some in British English and some in American English. I don't know why, if we kind of use the word a little bit differently. And then they kind of show you where they got it originally from, kind of thing. Okay. Okay. Sorry guys, I'm taking a quick sip of my water here. Okay. So now we're working on key question number 6. And this is talking about textbook features. So if you have the unit in front of you, I tried to blow it up a little bit so you can see the words a little bit easier because it is really tiny. But if you still find it too small to read, this is still a page that is online. I hope it doesn't get taken off. It's called How to Read a Textbook Page Fun Facts, and it's on literacyleader.com. Take the time to skim and scan the mock textbook page that follows. Don't just try to read everything. Look around the page using the skimming and scanning tips, and then answer the following questions. Okay, hang on a second. Oh, okay. I will come back to the other page. So this is, I'm going to just kind of show you really quickly because I really want to make sure you get this. How to read a textbook page, fun facts, literacy leader. Okay. So see how it comes up, and I can just kind of blow it up, and this is a lot easier to read. Okay. So I do suggest, oh, sorry. So my things are getting covered up there. There we go. So it's busy. Okay. What they've got in the box is kind of like a pretend textbook page. And then on the outside, they've got all sorts of little explanations of what the different things are. So we've got, I'll start at the top, sidebar. They offer information that complements but is not always essential to the main text. We talked about that. Chapter or section heading. Here's an example. A header. This is like a little line at the top of each page. Here they've got Unit 2, Developing Students' Textual Intelligence. So if you're flipping through a big textbook, it's just kind of a quick way to find what you're looking for without having to read the entire page. Icons or symbols, most textbooks will use them in a standardized way, and whenever you see that particular icon, it means something. So for this one, it means you should ask some questions. Pull boxes are a lot like a sidebar. They will usually feature things like connections, features, strategies, profiles. Textual organization. Textbooks organize things into lists and paragraphs. The boxed words indicate different examples of the paragraph's main idea. That is particular to this one. I don't think that's necessarily common. But words like first, another, or finally give you little hints as you're reading that we're talking about the information in a sequential way. That's typical of any paragraph, though, not just specifically a textbook. Vocabulary might be on the side. The first and last sentences will often tell you the main idea. The subheaders are also quite helpful for that. E.g., it just means example. Most textbooks use italics and bold typeface to indicate new terms and those listed in the glossary. Always ask, how is the writer using italics in this instance? Are they trying to indicate a new word, a book's title, emphasize an idea? Here they've got listed bold, italic, Roman, underlined, color, icons, or symbols. Okay. And then the bottom half of the page, we've got lists, which we talked about a little bit. Here's a spot for the directions that the student should read. Here are some suggestions for how to read it effectively. Pre-reading. In this one, they're suggesting that students should read the review questions before they even start, so they've got an idea what to look for. This is a footer, which is at the bottom of the page. It's a lot like a header, and again, it just helps you orient yourself when you're flipping through the book. Web links, reading figures, we talked about that already. Color codes. Sometimes there will be certain things that are always color coded the same way. Like I remember reading a math textbook and the examples were always in yellow, right? That kind of thing. And then different supplemental info like career connections, technology links, profiles about important people. Again, it's not necessarily the main information it needed to use, but it is interesting. Um, it's just meant to be like a little interesting tidbit that makes the reading more fun for the student. But you can see like this page is really busy. If you're, yeah, it's not always good for some people. That doesn't always work for some people. Okay, so here are the questions. What is the first thing that catches your attention on the 2 pages? I will take any number of answers there because everybody has a different opinion as to what they thought was eye-catching. What is a subheader? What is the main idea of the page? D, what are some of the techniques used on the page to draw your attention to certain areas? E, what does the text state that you will usually find at the beginning of most chapters? Now, I want to point out this question I find a lot of people try to guess at, but the answer is right in that page we just looked at. So go back and look at it carefully, and it will tell you the answer I am looking for. Okay, this is not one you want to guess at. F, name 3 examples of typography, and they gave us a whole lot more, so you only have to name 3. What are the 4 different purposes of typography? Now, this is another one where I find people tend to want to guess or make up an answer, but there are 4 specific words that they use that are what I am looking for in this particular answer, okay? What types of lists do writers and publishers use? They mention quite a few. Please list at least 2 or 3. What do students need to know about supplemental information? Why are textbooks frequently color-coded? Okay, so that was part 1. Part 2, select any textbook at your learning center to answer the questions below. Please remember that a textbook will contain true information. Novels such as mysteries, romances, horror are not going to have the nonfiction text features that you need to be able to answer these questions. So please do not attempt to use them. If you do, you will lose marks because you won't be able to answer the questions. And I won't accept, well, it didn't have it. No, I know it didn't have it because it's a novel, not a textbook. You have to use a textbook. Now, I kind of grabbed this, I went to the wrong spot earlier. So a textbook, it's usually going to have a title. It will often be super clear what it's a textbook for. So this one says Making Connections, Issues in Canadian Geography. It's a geography textbook. This one, Canadian Textbook of Medical Surgical Nursing. Okay, this is a nursing textbook. Okay, these are going to have the kinds of things we're looking for. Here are just some novels. Kristen Hanna, The Woman. The Heaven and Earth Grocery Store by James McBride. Tom Lake, a novel by Anne Patchett. Okay, these are novels. These are just going to be stories. They're not going to have an index. They might have a table of contents. They're probably not going to have photographs, charts, maps, that kind of thing. Okay, so please don't use novels. They're just not going to have the kind of information that you need. Now, what if you don't have a learning center where you are and don't have easy access to textbooks? Now, I will point out, if you are living in your own community, there is probably I'm assuming, an elementary school, and they will almost certainly have history textbooks, science textbooks, math textbooks. You could probably go in and ask the principal, hey, could I sit down and work on this for like 20 minutes? It won't take you very long. But if you don't want to do that, there are some textbook sources online where you can look at a PDF copy of a textbook and you would still be able to answer the questions. So I've included some links on this page. If you need to pause it and hunt around, you're welcome to give a shot to that. I used one called Libra Commons. It's open access text, so it's not necessarily the same kind of ones that you would use. Let me see if okay, good. Okay, so it looks like this. All right. And then, okay, so you can see right away, advanced general chemistry. I'm just going to kind of grab that. Now, this is a slightly different type of thing, but if you see here, download the PDF. I'm going to do that. Then I'm going to go up here and pull it up. And now I can answer the questions just like you would answer the questions if I had a physical textbook in front of me. There's the cover. That's kind of a blank page. This is their copyright page that will explain some things and have some questions. Here's their table of contents. So you can see this has got a lot of the same things that you would need to be able to answer the questions, okay? Sorry, hang on a sec. Okay, so here are the questions. This is a textbook feature analysis. It is worth 20 marks. And where are we? It says, what is the title of the textbook? That should be really obvious. Who are the authors of the textbook? In other words, who wrote it? Number 3, how many pages does the textbook have? Look at the end and you'll be able to see. What is the name of the publisher? When was the book first written? Now, I wrote first written because a lot of textbooks may have been written quite a few years ago, but they update it constantly. Like math textbooks, that's really common because math's not going to change, but they might have updated like the photographs or some of the examples. So maybe it was originally written in like 1990 and it's been published like every 10 years since then, but I'm asking you, when was it first written? Has the book been updated or revised? If so, when was it revised? And if it was a revised multiple years, just put the years. Like it was revised in 1990, 2000, 2010, whatever it was, okay? In your opinion, looking at its most recent date of publication, do you think the information is still accurate? Explain why you think it is or is not accurate. So just kind of thinking about that, what would make the information in a textbook inaccurate? Well, for science, for example, sometimes new things have come along and maybe that information is outdated and there's new theories or new ideas or new studies that have been done. If it was a much older textbook, even it's been like history, then again, new events may have come along that have changed things or changed how we interpret stuff. Other things like, say, an English textbook. I mean, English hasn't changed that much. That might still be accurate. I don't know. It kind of depends. So it depends what they're teaching. It depends how old they are. You're going to have to kind of look at it and make a decision for yourself. I'm not looking for any one particular answer here. I'm just looking that you can think about it and discuss it. What is the ISBN? If you're not sure, Google it. Where is the ISBN located? Now, create a citation using this format. A citation is when you are giving all the relevant information about a book that you used in order to write your information, okay? And in English, and well, in a lot of stores, but English especially, it becomes important in grade 12 to be able to know how to write a citation, okay? This is a typical format. The name of the author comes first, but we put his last name first, Edwards Robert. The title is underlined. Yeah, underlined if you're printing. It can be italicized as well. Either way is good. Publisher location. Where is that publisher located? Here it's Toronto. The name of the publisher, Nelson, Canada. Date of the publication, and then a period. So this is typical, okay? Where is it? Okay. Now, every now and again, I've had people get the publisher mixed up with the authors. The publisher is the business that prints and sells the books. They are not people, not in that sense, right? It's the name of the business, like Amazon or something. Some common publishers in Canada are Pearson, McGraw-Hill, Gage, Emont Publishing, Douglas and McIntyre, Oxford University Press, Athabasca Press. Now, Douglas and McIntyre, obviously from that name, they probably were two people that went into business originally. So that one I could understand why you might get confused and think that they're the writers, okay? But it will usually say publishing somewhere right next to it so you can know it, all right? Now, some textbooks will have multiple authors. In fact, I would say most textbooks do because writing a textbook is a huge amount of work. And a lot of times people want other people to check their work and make sure there's consensus and all that kind of stuff. So when you're doing the citation, if only two authors are listed, you put them in the exact same order as it appears on the book cover or the title page. The first author, is listed last name and then first name. Sorry guys, coughing a little bit here. All right. So sorry. My voice is just kind of going on me all of a sudden. Okay, hopefully you're reading along while I'm over here coughing to death. Um, I'm going to skip that page and go on to the next one. If there are three or more authors, you only need to list the first author in the last name, first name format, and then follow it with the phrase et al. This is a Latin phrase that means and others, and it's typically used in academia. So if you look at, here's the example, Wysocki and Francis et al. Everyone who's kind of like professors who are used to seeing this, they'll know that it means there's multiple authors. Because a textbook could have as easily 10 to 11 authors, they're not usually going to list all of them. They're usually listing the lead author. Okay, and then you can see writing new media, theory and applications for expanding the teaching of composition. That is italicized. That's the more common way to do it these days. And then you've got Utah State UP, which is probably the publisher. It's probably a university press is what I'm going to guess. And then 2004 is when it was printed. Okay. Okay. Now, if you're not sure how to do citations, the place I always go to check out is the Purdue University website, and they have a little section called the Online Writing Lab, which the short form is OWL, okay? There are all sorts of notes here to help you. In the English department, we generally use what's called MLA format, which is the Modern Language Association format. Other departments may use APA format. Whatever your professor asks for you to use, that's what you should use, right? MLA is common in English, but say, I think social sciences APA is more common. And actually, I'm going to pull it up real quick just to kind of show you. Okay. Oh, hang on a second. I was not expecting that. The Purdue OWL Writing Lab. There we go. Okay, this is the part you want because you're not going to the university. Okay, and he talks to him here about, okay, talks about general writing, research, and citations, and then it talks about the different styles: MLA style, Chicago style, IEE style, AMA, ASA, APA, all these kinds of things. So if you're not sure how to use something, you would just go to the MLA section and it would give you all sorts of information about how to do it. Okay. So for this course, it's not a huge issue. We only do citations for a few assignments, but it's a really helpful resource to know about for when you're going on to college or university. Okay. All right. So the other questions. Where is the table of contents? How is the information in the table of contents organized? Where is the index? How is the index information organized? Does this textbook have any other sections at the end of the book besides the index? List them. It's pretty typical for there to be other things, so take a look around, okay? Number 16, pick one word from the textbook that is not in the glossary or the sidebar and look it up in the dictionary. Write the word and its meaning here. Okay. Now, sometimes I get some funny answers when it's talking about how is the table of contents organized or how is the index organized. People are like, I don't know what you mean by that. So information can be organized in a variety of ways. You can organize it alphabetically by the author's last name. It could be organized alphabetically by topic. It could be organized alphabetically by the title of an article or by a chapter. Things can be ordered numerically, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Things could be organized chronology by time. What happened first? What happened second? It could be organized locationally by room, by province, by region. Now that sounds funny, but like if you were looking at, say, a history textbook on, say, Canada during a certain time period, it it might easily be listed as, hey, here's what's happening in Newfoundland, here's what was happening in Quebec, here's what's happening. So take a look at your textbook. How did they organize their type of information? Okay, that's what we're talking about. What was their system? Don't forget to keep filling out your reading log while you work on Unit 2. I am including another copy on the next page. Now, you don't have to hand it in now. The idea is that as you're working on Unit 2, you'll hand it in to me at the end of Unit 2. You know how you handed that portfolio stuff in with the reading inventory and the writing inventory and the reading log? You're going to do that again, okay? Now, I had somebody ask me the other day, to have to write every single thing I read. And this particular person is somebody who reads all the time. So they would be filling out an insane amount of reading logs. That particular person, I think, was working in a field where they do a lot of reading as well. Well, so no. If you have a lot of reading in your life, I mean, I'm not following along behind you, right? Just put in a variety of what you're reading if that's the case. If you don't feel like you read very much, I think this is kind of the hard part sometimes. Take a look around and start to notice when you are doing reading where you may not think of it as reading, like it's not a novel, but you're reading a poster, you're reading a recipe, you're reading a birthday card that somebody sent. You're reading a job ad, you're reading somebody's resume, all those kinds of things, okay? The idea is just that you start to notice some of the reading that you do in the everyday, okay? All right, I got finished this a little bit quicker than I intended to today. So we are going to cut this class a little bit short, and I will be back tomorrow. Thank you.
Remember all those nights we cried. All the dreams we held so close seem to all go up in smoke.